By January 1920, much of the Europe was in chaos following the end of the First World War. Unemployment was soaring and steep inflation was setting in across Spain, Italy, Germany, and many other European countries. Amid all of that devastation, an Italian-American businessman who was living in Boston and had charisma, imagination, and chutzpah of epic proportions observed a unique opportunity in this. He thought that he could buy prepaid international postage coupons in Europe at dirt cheap prices and then resell them in the US at a hefty profit. After pitching the idea to a few investors, he raised a total of $1,800 and formed a company. Early investors were rewarded substantially, and within a month, they had already received a large return on their investment. The word began to spread, and soon money came pouring in from dozens, then hundreds of other investors. By the summer of 1920, the company's founder was receiving more than $1 million per day from investors. The founder's name was Charles Ponzi, and as you could easily guess, it was a total scam. Charles Ponzi wasn't really generating any return on investment. He was simply taking the new investors' money to pay the old investors. The business collapsed later that year, giving rise to the term Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi schemes are about robbing Peter to pay Paul and Jane. Money is taken from one victim and is used to pay out a different victim.
The business collapsed, but the Ponzi scheme survived and has enjoyed a rich afterlife in far more adept hands of people like Bernie Madoff. Madoff was the architect of the biggest documented Ponzi scheme in American history and first truly global one.
Fixture on Wall Street, Bernie Madoff, 70 years old, arrested by the FBI.
Wall Street veteran Bernard Madoff has been arrested and charged with running a $50 billion Ponzi scheme.
Bernie Madoff was arrested in 2008 for defrauding over 40,000 people.
This is one of the biggest fraud cases ever.
Today's video is brought to you by Prime Emporio, your one-stop destination for various household and fashion products and accessories. Discover the ultimate shopping experience at their online store, offering an extensive range of products. Don't forget to check out their online store and treat yourself to something special. Bernie Madoff was born in a middle-class Jewish neighborhood in the Queens, New York, in 1938. Along with his brother Peter, he saved a few $1,000s from working as a lifeguard and installing sprinklers before setting out to conquer Wall Street. It all begins in 1960s, when Bernie Madoff established a brokerage house and wealth management firm after earning a degree in political science and briefly studying law. He essentially starts as a trader in penny stocks with an initial investment of $5,000. No less than an ambitious entrepreneur, Madoff develops a trading software program with his brother Peter. Even NASDAQ stock market ultimately adopts it, which lays down the foundation for much of the electronic trading systems. Later, Madoff serves as the chairman of NASDAQ in 1990.
The concept of these new types of systems is to make it easier and more cost-effective for people to trade.
Due to his affability and charismatic personality, he earns a lot of respect on the Wall Street. As a result, he also serves as the chairman of the board of directors of the National Association of Securities Dealers. Madoff, a quiet, controlled, and meticulous man, was attuned to his image, down to the most minute details. He was an avid collector of vintage watches and took time each morning to match his wedding ring to the watch band he was wearing that day. The decor in his firm's New York and London offices was stark. Despite nurturing a familial atmosphere in his offices, he installed 2 cameras on the small trading floor of the firm's London operations, so he could monitor the unit remotely from New York. People think that they know the inside story, but they didn't know the real Bernie Madoff. What could have driven him to choreograph a $65 billion Ponzi scheme? Was he a charlatan of epic proportions? A greedy manipulator so hungry to accumulate wealth that he didn't care whom he hurt to get what he wanted? Or he was trying to link the world of white-collar finance to the world of serial criminals? Madoff's brokerage business was wildly successful, making him and his family extremely wealthy. He surely had no financial need to con thousands of clients out of billions of dollars. He was operating the Ponzi scheme through the wealth management portion of his business. To execute the Ponzi scheme, Madoff needs wealthy and influential investors on his side. He's smart enough to understand this and cultivates close friendships with wealthy, influential businessmen in New York and Palm Beach, Florida, sign them as investors, pay them handsome returns, and use their positive recommendations to attract more investors. As more investors join, he uses their money to fund payouts to existing investors and fee payments to his company. To make his reputation burnished, he starts developing relationships with the financial regulators. Over the years, he exploits an air of exclusivity to attract serious, moneyed investors. Not everyone gets accepted into his funds, and gradually it becomes a mark of prestige to be admitted as a Madoff investor, since he's one of the most successful businessmen in New York and one of the most powerful men on Wall Street. No one would suspect him of fraud. He markets specific investment strategies to his investors, such as split-strike conversion to conceal his scam, avoid further scrutiny from investors, and provide investors and other interested parties with an explanation of how he manages to attain specific rate of return consistently, year after year. In reality, the money received from the investors was never invested in any securities. Instead, those funds were deposited in a bank account at New York's Chase Manhattan Bank. When clients wished to receive the profits they believed they had earned with Madoff, or to redeem their principal, he used the money in the Chase Manhattan bank account that belonged to them or other clients to pay the requested funds. Finally, the Doomsday comes. In 2008, global economies began to decline due to the financial crisis. Large numbers of Madoff investors needed money and began asking to cash in their investments. That's when the Madoff's Ponzi scheme busted. He didn't have enough money to cover his investors' requests, and new investor money was hard to be found in the financial crisis. And with credit drying up at banks, it proved impossible for Madoff to obtain the needed funding to meet the mountain of redemption requests. He knew the game was over. On December 10th, his own blood, his sons reported him to the authorities. He got arrested the following day and sentenced to a 150-year prison term in 2009. Madoff died of natural causes on April 14, 2021, in prison. Madoff's Ponzi scheme, which in his own words was one big lie, claimed victims from Palm Beach to the Persian Gulf, from Canada to Brazil, from a teacher's pension plan in South Korea to a Catholic girls' school in St. Croix. His Ponzi scheme erased almost $65 billion in paper wealth, supposedly held in investor accounts.
The sheer scale of Bernard Madoff's Ponzi scheme shocked the world. Thousands of individuals, charities, and funds that on paper were worth a total of $65 billion were wiped out. What's more, some of his closest friends and family who had trusted him with their life savings faced ruin.
In your view, what motivated Bernie Madoff? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.